Kristen here. Welcome back to the channel, and if this is your first time watching, thank you for choosing to watch this video. Today I'm going to tell you all the books that I gave 5 stars in 2025. So let's get to it. If you like the video while you're watching it, feel free to click that like button. I really do appreciate every like and every view and every comment. Let me know in the comment section below if you have read any of these books. Were they 5-star reads for you too? It's okay if they weren't. We're telling truths here, we can be honest. So when I was looking back through all the books I read in 2025, I was thinking, wow, now that I'm thinking about everything I read, I don't know how many books I actually gave 5 stars to. Because there were a lot of good books that I read, but I feel like I read a lot of 4-star books in 2025. Like a lot of really good, solid books that I liked a lot, but just couldn't quite get themselves pushed into like the 5-star category. So there are 10. There are 10 books that I read this past year, that I gave 5 stars to. 10. I feel like it should be a lot more than 10. I feel like for as many books as I read in a year, I should be reading many more 5-star books. Okay, so we are just gonna get right into the books today. Like I said, there are 10, and some of these are books within a series that I maybe didn't give 5 stars to the whole series, but I gave 5 stars to this specific book in the series. So we're gonna get right into that. Book number 1 on this list, and these are not in like any particular order. Book number 1 is The Knight and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. The Knight and the Moth is book 1 in the Stonewater Kingdom series, which I think is just going to be a duology. Book 2 comes out next year. Oh my god, I'm sure you've probably heard of this book, but this book was so good. And it was really different. I love finding books that have kind of like a different or unique take to them, because I read a lot of fantasy and a lot of romantasy, and a lot of the things can like start to be the same over and over again. Sometimes it's okay to have the same tropes within a genre if the world is different or the characters are different or something about the story is really unique, and this is really unique. If you've read One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig, you know what I'm talking about. That duology was very unique and it was really interesting. The characters were really good. It was beautiful and lyrical, but not like overly flowery. It was very like accessible, and I loved that duology. The Knight and the Moth, not at all a disappointment. Strong 5-star read for me. I cannot wait for book 2 to come out. This story follows our main character, whose name is Sybil. She is a diviner. She lives in an abbey with a group of other girls who are also diviners. They dream, and they have these like prophecies, and they foretell things. People from the town can pay money and come to the abbey and have like their future foretold to them, and she sees like visions from the gods basically that let her know what to tell the person is going to happen to them. And she's a little bit unique. She kind of wants a little more out of being a diviner in the abbey, and once she decides she wants to go on an adventure, of course this other thing starts happening where the other girls that are diviners kind of start disappearing one by one. So now she has a mystery to solve. And enter a knight. His name is Roderick, and they don't get along at all. He's rude, he doesn't like her, he doesn't like diviners, he doesn't like the abbey. But of course they do end up kind of going on a little bit of an adventure together and agree to kind of work together for the time being. Also, the gargoyle who lives at the abbey, who is very strange and weird and unusual, has kind of sort of maybe befriended Sybil, goes along with them. Best character in the whole book, by the way. Best character. If you haven't read this yet, you should read it. It's interesting, it's different, it's unique. I would not call this a romantasy, because so much about this is really about Sybil's story in this world. I would say this is a fantasy with a romantic subplot. That's just my opinion. Everything in the world that has romance now is being pitched as romantasy. In my opinion, this is a fantasy with romance. But yeah, 5 stars, freaking loved it. Absolutely love this book. Definitely recommend. If you haven't read it yet, you should definitely put it on your TBR. Okay, my next 5-star read is actually 2 books within the same series. That is The Legendborn Cycle by Tracy Deonn. I gave book 1, Legendborn, and book 2, Bloodmarked, both 5 stars. Book 3, Oathbound, was 4 stars just because I felt like it dragged a little bit in certain parts. It wasn't like boom, boom, boom as fast-paced as book 1 and 2, but book 3 was still 4 stars. Absolutely solid 4 stars. I really love that too. This was a fantastic find for me. This was a binge read that I read at the very beginning, I think, of 2025. So this is a YA fantasy, and it follows our main character, Bree. She is going to UNC Chapel Hill. She is in high school, but this is a program at the college where it's like a residential program where they live on campus, and they're basically, I don't know if it's like a dual credit thing, I can't remember, but her and her best friend are part of this program. They're gonna live at UNC, but they are still technically high school students. I think that they're kind of doing like a high school / college credit thing at one time. This is a cool fantasy because it's a contemporary fantasy. It is set in like normal today's world, obviously like an alternate version of today's world, but it's not like a high fantasy. So I kind of like to read stuff like that every once in a while. Once you read a lot of high fantasy, sometimes you get like bogged down with all the world building, and this world building is set in our world. So that's kind of a little side note if you're in the mood for like a contemporary fantasy. This is a King Arthur retelling, or I guess probably more like a reimagining. The Legendborn are this secret society who have a chapter house at the UNC campus, and it is very secret, hush hush. It's made up of members of like great descendants of all like King Arthur and all the knights at Arthur's table, and they have like special magical abilities and they fight demons. Oh, and it's so cool. And the story with Bree is so good, guys, so good. Like her story on her own with like the way that she's interacting with the Legendborn society, and oh, so good. But there's also a bit of a love triangle happening between two members of the Legendborn, a Merlin and a Legendborn member named Nick, who's like sworn off being part of the secret society, who comes back just to help Bree. The whole story is just fantastic. If you've been hearing about this book and you just haven't picked it up yet, you should definitely move this one up on the list. Like I said, books 1 and 2 were absolute strong 5 stars for me. They were bangers. Book 3, also just as good, just maybe a little too long or just a little more slower paced in the middle of the book, but overall, I absolutely love this series so much, and I cannot wait for the next book to come out. I'm pretty sure it comes out in 2026. If I have to wait till 2027, I'm gonna be so sad. All right, my next 5-star read is a different genre. This one is not fantasy. This one is a mystery thriller called A Killing Cold by Kate Alice Marshall. You know, sometimes you read a book and it just hits you just right, and it's a 5-star read, and I think that that's kind of what A Killing Cold was for me. It was really good. It was well written. It had plot twists that took me by surprise. I didn't figure out exactly what was going on the end way ahead of time, which is a problem for me with thrillers. It just hit me just right. I don't know what the deal was, but A Killing Cold was so good to me. Our main character, her name is Theo. She has been in a relationship with Connor for 6 months. It was like a whirlwind romance, and he's proposed and she said yes, and so now he is taking her home to meet her family for the very first time. And of course, his family is powerful and they're rich and they're secretive and they're a little snobby, and they're not too excited about meeting Theo. And so he is taking her to their like private winter retreat called Idlewood, where she'll meet everybody for the very first time. She has been, like, side note, she's been getting threatening texts telling her to stay away from Connor. Then when she's at Idlewood, she finds a picture of herself as a kid, even though to the best of her knowledge, she's never ever been there before. So yeah, there's a lot going on in this one, and I couldn't really predict where it was going and what was happening. I did not see the ending coming. It definitely got me, and it was really interesting, and it was pretty fast paced. So definitely recommend this one. It was a very strong 5-star read for me, and it's the only mystery thriller on my 5-star list. I read a lot of 4-star mysteries and thrillers this past year, but A Killing Cold is the only one that I actually gave 5 stars to. So, okay, next. One of my absolute favorite series that I read at the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025, and that is the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. I gave book 5, which is Gold, 5 stars in 2025, and the only reason that I'm only talking about Gold is because I read Gold and Goldfinch in 2025, and I read the first 4 books in the series in 2024. I actually gave books 2, 3, 4, and 5 in this series 5 stars. Book 1 was 4 stars, and book 6, the last one, was 4 stars. So, however, book 5 was Gold. It was one of my favorites in the series. It was so good. This is definitely a romantasy. It follows Arin, who is gold from head to toe. She lives inside a cage at the beginning of book 1. She's the consort of King Midas. And, you know, this is a reimagining of King Midas. I read some good retellings and reimaginings this year, actually. He does not treat her very well, and we do not like him. If you're new to the series and you're reading book 1 and you're like, oh my God, this is a romantasy with her and Midas, that's all I'll say about that. But Gold was so, so good. It was very, very emotional, 'cause by now we're in like book 5 in the series. I binged these books in December and January, so it spans across like 2 years of favorite book lists. But I highly recommend this series, even though book 1 is a little rough. The first half of book 1 is difficult to get through. Definitely check the triggers for this one. It's not that it's so dark, it's just that it might be triggering for certain readers. So check the triggers if you might be sensitive to certain things. However, if you can get through the first half of book 1, the series is so phenomenal. Like I said, books 2 through 5 I gave 5 stars to. Like so good. So freaking good. Highly recommend it. Book 5 on this list is Onyx Storm. And I'm sorry, but you know, I have to live my truth. And I read Onyx Storm in 2025 and it was a 5-star read for me. I love the Fourth Wing books. I'm sure you're tired of hearing about this series by now, but I just absolutely love them so much. Some people didn't really, they thought Onyx Storm like didn't live up to their expectations, but I adored it. I absolutely loved the book. If you're not familiar, I don't know who you are. If you are like under a rock and you haven't read Fourth Wing because you just haven't heard of it, you should read Fourth Wing. I love all the books in this series. I'm pretty sure I gave all 3 books 5 stars. Maybe I gave Iron Flame 2, whoa, no. I was gonna say 4 stars. I don't know why I almost said 2 stars. Holy cow. Please forgive me, Taryn. Pretty sure I gave all 3 books in this series 5 stars. So obviously I highly recommend. I'm a huge Fourth Wing fan, a huge Xaden fan, a huge Taryn fan, a huge Andarna fan. I cannot wait to be able to talk about a new book in this series. So hopefully we get an announcement about book 4 soon, although not rushing. Rebecca Yarros, take your time, but like also write fast, but also do it at your own pace. All right, the next book I gave 5 stars to in 2025 was Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This is another book in the world of the Hunger Games series. You've probably heard of this book and you've probably also seen that they have made a movie of this. It's coming out in 2026. Sunrise on the Reaping is Haymitch's story. These are the Hunger Games that Haymitch actually participated in. The Quarter Quell, where they took twice the number of contestants than they normally do. And as you can imagine, Haymitch's story is just as heartbreaking and just as upsetting as you would have thought. There is a reason why he drinks so much in the Hunger Games books. If you were holding off on reading Sunrise on the Reaping because you read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and you were just kind of disappointed, this is not like that at all. This is more like the original Hunger Games books, told from the POV of somebody actually going in as a tribute into the Hunger Games, somebody experiencing all of the hurt and the pain and the horrible friggin' things that happen in this book. And it was just heart-wrenching. It was so, so good though. It was so cool to see some of the characters that we see later in the original Hunger Games trilogy as like younger characters. Like we see a lot of people from Mockingjay and Catching Fire specifically. So I definitely highly recommend Sunrise on the Reaping. If you were putting it off because you read the other book and you were little, you know, not too excited, this one is so good, so much better. And also I think it's a good time to read it because when you see the movie in 2026, you don't want to have like just read the book because then you're going to notice every tiny little detail that they changed. So I recommend reading it sooner rather than later. I recommend reading it with a box of tissues. But 5 stars. My next 5-star read of 2025 was Vows and Ruins, which is book 2 in the Legends of Thesmar series by Helen Schurer. This must be the 3rd or 4th time I have mentioned this author in a video recently, and I still don't know how to pronounce her name. That's terrible. This is the 2nd book in the series. Book 1 in Legends of Thesmar I gave 4 stars. Book 2 I gave 5 stars, and I am still 25% into book 3, so I haven't read that one yet, obviously. Highly recommend this series if you haven't read them yet. I felt like book 2 just had a lot more of the romance in it and there was a lot more action and stuff, so that's why that one got 5 stars. But Overall as a series, that averages to be 4.5 stars. So if you haven't read them yet, I highly recommend that you do. Let me tell you a little bit about them. Thea, our main character, Althea, it has been foretold that she is going to die when she is a certain age, and so she has decided that she wants to become this legendary warrior before that time, and so she joins the competition to become one of these legendary warriors. And of course, one of the trainers is a legendary warrior himself. His name is Wilder Hawthorne, and of course they catch some feelings when they're training together. It is definitely a romantasy. Lots of action though, lots of like fighting the monsters and things like that. Lots of Althea like learning swordplay. Lots of really good side characters. Her friends that are going through training with her are great. Her sister is great. The other warriors that are Wilder Hawthorne's friends, also great. There's just really great, really good story, really like fun, solid fantasy. There are 4 books in the series. I have not finished the series yet. This book is on my list of series that I must finish in 2026. I'm not quite there yet, but 5 stars to book 2 for sure. The next book I gave 5 stars in 2025 was The Book of Azrael by Amber V. Nicole. I feel like I've talked about this book a lot lately. This was my most recent read on this 5 stars list. I absolutely adored this book. This follows a main character named Diana, who is a creature that I honestly can't say. That's why I haven't said it in my videos yet. It's like an Igmarathan or something like that. And I'm sure that I'm not saying that right. But she is the bad guy, first of all. Not like the big bad guy, but she is a bad guy. And our male main character is Liam. He is the king, and he is nicknamed the World Ender. This catastrophe with his like home world happened. That was like kind of his fault. And he is depressed, and he is forlorn, and he is extremely powerful. And Diana is also extremely powerful, and they are working on opposite sides. This is a true enemies to lovers story. I think that's why I love this so much. I love a real enemies to lovers, and so many times when a book says that's what they are, that's not really what they are. This was really a real enemies to lovers story. It was a slow burn romance. It was so good. So much like fighting and violence and action, and then like so much like sweet romance, and oh, it was so good. Just read this book. If you're looking for a new adult romantasy series, I highly recommend you pick this up. This is definitely going to be a series you are going to hear me talk about more in the coming weeks and months for sure. 5 stars to The Book of Azrael. Okay, the next book I gave 5 stars in 2025 is actually a series of books. This is all the books in the Kindred's Curse series by Penn Cole. Book 1 is Spark of the Everflame. I binge read these at the beginning of 2025, and this was such a fantastic find for me. I loved this series. There are 3 books out in the series right now, and the 4th book, which I believe is going to be the final book, is coming out next year. So now's a really good time if you haven't read them yet. I gave all the books in this series 5 stars. Even though I would say book 3 I probably gave 4.5 stars. I think I rounded it up on Goodreads, but I did take off a half a star because that book was just too dang long. It definitely needed to have been cut a little, but I still absolutely adored it, and I love the way it ended, and I love these books so much. This is another adult romantasy series. I think you can see a pattern here. I read a lot of fantasy books. This follows Diem, who lives as a mortal in this world where the gods' offspring, they're called the Descended, and they're cruel, and they're beautiful, and they're powerful, and all of the like mortal humans are like weak and poor and looked down upon. And Diem's mother goes missing. She takes over her job at the castle. She ends up meeting a prince. She also meets the king. Weird things are happening. She's learning secrets about herself, about her mother, about her father. She's getting some feelings for the prince. There's just a lot going on in this series, and I loved it so much. Diem is a really frustrating character sometimes. Sometimes she can make really annoying decisions, but I also love Diem as a character. The prince is named Luther. He's a fantastic male main character and love interest, and very powerful with his magic as well. The hype is real for this series, honestly. I had heard people talk about this series, and I feel like the synopsis on Goodreads or like Amazon or wherever you read your synopses. Anyway, I feel like it's not really detailed. It doesn't give you a lot of information, but actually just read it. Just dive in and give it a try. These books are all on Kindle Unlimited, so if you have Kindle Unlimited especially, give it a try. Just read it. 5 stars to all 3 books in the series that are out so far. Like, come on. Okay, we're at book 10. This is the final book that I gave 5 stars to in 2025. And other than the Book of Azrael, this was like the next most recent book that I read from this list. That was Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. I was hoping that I was gonna love this book, and when I started it, I wasn't 100% sold. But like after I got into a couple of chapters and kind of like figured out the feel of the world and the writing, oh my God, I just so like fell into it. I loved it so much. Alchemy of Secrets is a contemporary fantasy, and kind of like The Night and the Moth, it is unique. It's a different type of fantasy story. I read a lot of like high fantasy and romantasy, and this is just like a different type of fantasy book, and I just loved it so much. It was so like magical and whimsical, and even though it's set in California in like present time, I felt like we were in a whole different world. Like I love the idea that there's like secret magic going on behind the scenes in like LA. I loved it so much. Our main character is Holland. She gets told that she has 24 hours to find this object called the alchemical heart, and if she doesn't, she's gonna die. And that sets off a chain of events for Holland that leads her on this adventure that remarkably happens in 24 hours. I felt like the book was pretty fast paced because it has to be. Like you have one day, you have 24 hours to tell Holland's like whole story here. The book takes place mostly in that 24-hour time period. So I felt like the pacing was really good. The whimsy of the book was really good. We had like our dark and seedy moments. We had like our magical moments. We had plot twists. The ending was really good. I am really excited to see where we go in the next book as Holland's story continues. Even though there were like some open threads, it felt almost like a complete story. So I'm curious where we're gonna go to next. Every side character in this story is so stinking good. Such an easy 5 stars. One of the first things I did after I read this book was like tell my mom she had to read it, and she also loved it too. So there you go. I mean, my mom also gave it 5 stars, so now you gotta read it. That's it. That's all 10 books that I read in 2026. No, we're not in 2020. Whew, I just jumped forward a year. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Happy reading, and I will see you next time. Bye.